Some songs you just need in your playlist. There are some songs you just need to put in your playlist. So when the enemy comes in, when you can't find enough things to say to yourself, you start singing those songs, you know. You start to apply that song to that situation. And you know, when you sing it, you are uttering in the atmosphere a word that would change your situation. That's why you can't sing every song. Because every song ain't supposed to be sung. Because when you sing it, life and death are in the power of the tongue. And even though I'm just singing it, just thinking, oh, it's just amusing, or it's just a nice sound, I'm singing that thing in my situation. And so just like you can sing a bad thing in your situation, you can sing up something in your life that will create the turnaround. So just in case you had them days, and I promise you, everybody is going to have some days, put that one in your playlist. Put that one in your playlist, and then every time the enemy tries to come and starts to talk some stuff, you say, it's turning around for me. Around for me. I'm going to tell you what, there were days when we were paying bills, haircut to haircut, and even while I was at home or even at work, I would look at myself and I say, it won't always be like this. God will perfect that concerning me. And sooner or later, turn in my favor. I just believed it. And even when I didn't see it, I started to say it. And sometimes when I couldn't have the words to say it, I started to sing it. Sooner or later, it's turning my favor. Sooner or later, it's turning my favor. It's turning around for me. He says to Jeremiah, he says, I already told you. And so what you're telling them is a replica. It's what I've already told you. Before you had entered into your mother's womb, I already knew you. And I'd already called you before you got there. I'm going to repeat that to you. Before you entered into your mother's womb, he already knew you.
Thank you, Jesus.
He already had a plan. He had already mapped out your lives. My father used to preach this message in the house. He says it's only a rerun. He says everything that we see is God just push and play again. He just rewinded in his mind and push play again. He says, now let's make this thing happen. See, now this is proof that it happens. How many of you have ever experienced what we call deja vu? Now you get an experience of deja vu and you try to figure out, why is it that I've ever seen this before? Why have I heard this before? Why? Because you didn't come from you. You came from God. And so your spirit was with God before it got inside the womb. And so when it entered into the womb, that it already had experienced what was going to take place. And so when we had deja vu, we recognized that this is a rerun, that this was played before, and that I saw it when it first entered into the mind of God, when I was with God. But somehow or another, we lose track of that thing when we come into the earth. And every once in a while, God gives us a glimpse to let us know who we are, that before you entered into your mother's womb, you was with me, that you belong to me. And so that you're not supposed to be doing any and everything because you belong to me. You're supposed to be under the blood with me. I'm supposed to have you covered, that you're supposed to do what I say do. You're supposed to live under me. You're supposed to reverence me. Why? Because you'd always been mine. And since I've always known you, I've always known what I wanted you to do. I've always known what I had a plan for you to do. And even if everything around your world says you can't, I'm telling you, you can. Everything around you that says you're not, I'm telling you that you are. And that if they're telling you what opposite of what I'm telling you that they are lying to you. And they don't know you like I know you. I'm going to tell you how I know you. They can't number your hairs. They don't know you by the numbers of your hairs. They don't know you like that. They don't know you by what you need before you need it. I know you like that. They don't even know what I have planned for you like I know like that. See, I had a thought. See, I've got this thought in mind for you. And I already see where I want to take you. And so just in case they start talking, don't get caught up. Don't get caught up on what they're talking. See, the other day we talked about filters, about what, how to know what is and what is not. I'm going to tell you what. First things first is, don't let the naysayers influence you. See, don't let them influence you. See, they've been called to do it and don't even know what they're doing. Some people just are used by the devil and don't even know. They don't even know they're being used by the devil. And so don't even charge it to them. You got to treat it like Jesus did with Peter and just say, get behind me, Satan. And look at him and say, hey, look, I don't mean to offend you, but that's not what God has called me to. I hear you talking. I do not mean to offend you, but truthfully, I'd rather not hear that. See, because if you let them get in your ear gate, you will process that information. That information will turn into thoughts, and before they will turn into things, you'll start to say what they say, and then you'll do what they say. Nope. Do not let them influence you. See, because that was put there to deter you from your destiny. God is going somewhere with this. And even in our captivities, God is going somewhere with this. And so he's looking at you and said, don't listen to them. Do not listen to them. He says, now the next thing, he says, now don't let your fears stop you. Do not let your fears stop you. He says, why? Because fear is human. Somebody say, well, what exactly are you saying? See, there's good fear and there's bad fear. See, there's certain fears like you learn that you don't touch the fire because it will burn you. That's fear. That's the fear that God gives us so that it will protect us. Then there's this other fear that God gives us that will protect us so that if I get in a jam, if it's time for me to run, he puts this adrenaline in my system and I can run a little bit faster. It triggers me and it protects me. And so sometimes the enemy will try to use what God put in me to protect me to deter me. And so he will play on my emotions, my fears, so that I won't do what he's calling me to do. Because he'll make me doubt. Fear and doubt, they run together. So fear and doubt, they never come apart from one another because the fear will cause me to doubt. Now, what he wants me to do is say, hey, look, I know this looks scary, but do it anyway. Because if you trust me in it, I'll prove myself in it. That's what God wants us to do. He says, look, I know you're scared. I know you're scared. So when I tell you to don't fear, I'm telling you to do something greater. I'm telling you to be able to do it even if your emotions tell you something else. Even if your emotions tell you that you're not going to make it. I want you to try this anyway. Even if your emotions tell you that I'm going to lose my mind, I want you to try this anyway. Even if your emotions tell you you don't have the money, or you don't have the intelligence, or you don't have the time. He says, I want you to try this anyway, because what I am doing inside of your situation, even though you fear, is I'm going to prove myself in it so that you will never have to fear again. See, because I'm about to give you a testimony. And if I give you a testimony, what that testimony will say to you for the rest of your life is, God can and God will. Not only God can, but God will. God will do this for me every time because I trusted him in it. That I trusted him in. See, just like fear and doubt are twins, trust and faith are irrevocable. That means you cannot separate them. They really are one and the same. And so if I'm going to have faith in him, I've got to trust him. Whatever he said, whatever that is that he said, even though I'm afraid, I've got to let my faith be bigger than my fear. And I've got to trust him in this thing because he's going somewhere with this. And I can't get caught up fearing what's about to take place. I've got to know that he is going somewhere with this, that this has to be for a purpose, that this has to be for a reason. And it only will last for a season. And so now that I don't let my fears get caught up, I don't let this, what they're saying, check me. Why? Because they cannot change God's mind. What the enemy is saying, you know, what tries to seed into your mind, it can't change God's mind. So he's trying to get us to change our minds. God has a future and a hope. He has a destination, a destiny for us. He has a place that he is taking us. And he's looking at our situation. He says, don't get caught up because they can't change my mind. Don't you change your mind. So now that I'm sending you, I am establishing you. I want you now to be on this established thought that he has me, that he knows me, that he knows my name, that he knows my situation, and that he has a call over my life, and I can't stop now that I'm rolling. I can't stop now that I'm started. I've got to press towards the mark for the prize of the high calling. Now, I can't be paying attention to that stuff that just doesn't matter. That useless information that doesn't take me anywhere. Now, unto him that is able to keep me from falling and to present me faultless before him, to the only wise God, be glory, dominion, and power. He's saying in our situation, he's saying, look, stop being afraid of failure. Because that's the real fear. The fear is not the fact that you can't. The fear is the fact that you might fail in front of people and that they will remember and that you will be the talked about one. Now he's saying right now in this situation, he says, I want you to do something. I want you to understand that you won't fail in me. That you might have failures, but as long as you don't stop, you're going to be okay. You got to keep rolling. See, because a body in motion stays in motion. He said, but if it's just sitting still, it only has potential. And you can't take your potential to the grave. That what you have in you has been birthed for a season to do something great. He said, now, I'm telling you right now, I know where you are. I know your situation. I know what your enemy looks like, but I know I'm greater than him. I know what my thoughts are about you. I know exactly what my thoughts are about you. You see,
yes,
I know how I feel about this thing.
Amen.
And I have an end for this. See, he told Jeremiah one time, he says, I have an expected end. See, I wrote the end of the book because I'm the author and the finisher of your faith. I wrote the end of the book. And so your enemy, I know where he's going. And I know where you are going. And the only one that can stop you is you. The only one that the enemy cannot stop you. The only one that can stop you is you. Please don't let you stop you getting caught up. Why? Because I read this other thing in Deuteronomy 7. And he looked at your situation. He says, I know where you come from. I know exactly where you come from. See, a lot of cases, we look at God, when God calls us, he says, do you know where I come from? You know, when Gideon was talking to God for the first time, he said, God, do you know where I come from? I come from the smallest tribe. He says, I'm the least of them. He said, you know what I mean? It's basically saying like, look, I come from a sharecropper's family. We never owned anything. He said, and I'm the poorest one of us. I come from the projects, and I've never seen anything else. My family has never done anything else. That we've only known what I see, and I'm the worst out of them. That you know, do you see where I come from? And God looks and says, I see exactly where you come from. That's why I came to you. I see exactly what crowd you belong to, and I handpicked you. When God came to Israel and talked through Moses and Deuteronomy, he said, I didn't pick you because you was the biggest. I picked you because you was the smallest. I picked you because I had a plan for you. And I didn't love you because you was the biggest. I loved you because I had a plan for you. God loves you and God has a plan for you. And he will not change his mind. He won't change his mind. His mind is made up. Yeah. He looking at situations. He says, my mind is made up. He said, all I need for you is don't get caught up. My mind is already made up. Don't you get caught up, because I'm going somewhere with this. See, what I learned about God now through my life at 49 is that all things work together for the good of them. All of it works together for the good of them that love the Lord, that are called, for the called. See, he already called you for the called according to his purpose. He's already got a purpose for you. He's already called you for it. He says, now I just need for you to stay focused on me, because what you've been going through has a purpose. It's going to teach you something for the next message that you'll preach. It's going to teach you something for the next life that you will live before someone. Because even if it's not in verbal form, it's certainly inside physical demonstration form, that you are demonstrating something to someone else. Someone else is watching you and learning from you. Someone else is looking up to you. You do not get the choice to not be a role model, that you will model life for someone. And he says, I already had this plan for your life, and I've already picked somebody else out for you to mentor.
Right.
I need for you to not get caught up, because when you get caught up, you catch them up. If the blind lead the blind, they both fall into the ditch. He says, I don't need for you to lead them into the ditch. Don't get caught up. He says, because this thing that you're going through, it's only for a season. It's only for a season. The enemy tries to make it seem like it's for a lifetime. It's not going to be for a lifetime. He says, I need you to do something now. I need for you to do this. I need for you to confront your fears. Stop running from them. I heard a story about bulls and buffalo. They said bulls, they can hear a storm from miles away coming. And when they hear the storm coming, they try to run from the storm. The problem is, in running from the storm, they prolong the situation, because it can't stop the storm coming, because they're running opposite direction from the storm, but they are letting the storm catch them eventually. He says, you know what buffaloes do?
Run to it.
They run to it. And so if you run to it, it has to deal with you instead of you having to deal with it. David did not run from Goliath. David ran to Goliath. See, now when that thing that you are afraid about is coming, you can hear it coming. Do not run from it. Run into it. Run into it with your armor on. Run into it covered with the blood. Run into it knowing that the God you serve shall deliver you. See, the boys, when they was tossed into the fiery furnace, they didn't run from the furnace. They got in it. See, hey, they didn't toss them in it. They walked in that thing. And God walked in that thing with them. See, I'm going to tell you what. So next time that you have an adversity, you look at your situation and you run to it and you say, it won't always be like this. And you put a word on it. God will perfect that concerning me. Yes. And sooner or later, it's working my favor. It's turning around for me. And see, God, while I go inside that storm, God will take that storm and do something in it. He might just allow me to be inside the eye of it, and it's going on around me, but it won't touch me. He might just make it deter, go another direction, because he will make me a mountain, and storms can't handle mountains. What happens when storms hit mountains? They bounce off of them and go another direction. I don't know how God will do it, but I know God will do it. And so all I'm simply telling you is don't get caught up.
Come on, John.
Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up.
Come on.
Don't get caught up. They're going to say something. I'm telling you that they are going to say something. You know those scriptures before, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every tongue that rises up against me in judgment. God said, hey, look, I created the smith to blow up the coals, and I created the waster to defile. He said, I did make them. He says, but what they doing, I didn't send them to do.
Sir.
He says, so no weapon formed against you shall prosper. He says, I didn't make them, but what they doing is against what I said about you. So if you can take this and understand that they are trying to provoke fear in you, and understand that this is not meant to stop you. This was meant to make you, that if you can go through this storm, you will see me like you've never seen me before. You will see me like you've never seen me before. See, let me tell you something. I don't care who you are. Everybody wants to see God. I don't care who you are. Everybody wants to see God. And God, you know what God says? I want you to see me too. He says, but before you see me in glory, I want you to see me in your situations. I want to show up in it and show my power so powerful that you will never forget me, that you will never be disappointed. Because why? He said, you will always expect me the next time. The next time you get in a situation, you look at it and you say, in the immortal words of Chanel, where you at, Jesus? Because I know you're going to do something now. I know you're going to do something now. So look, I'm going to close. I'm going to close. But I'm going to tell you this. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up. Because this is only seasonal. I don't know who I'm talking to. But I know you've taken some hits. I think Michelle preached it just earlier. I know you taking some hits. But I'm convinced it's turning around. It's going to turn around. That you're not where you want to be. I understand. You know what? Not only do I understand, God understands. See, because we don't have a high priest who's not in touch with our infirmities. You know what God says? I know how you feel and I'm feeling you. I know you're not where you're supposed to be. But if you remember that scripture that was just read before in the service, Psalms 126, he says, they were like them that dream. He says, and then was our mouth filled with laughter. That all of a sudden, we'd experienced what we had been longing for, and it was so good, I can't even quite believe this. I can't believe we are where we are. That when he sends a turnaround, it will be like, wow. Can you believe this? Somebody pinch me. Am I dreaming? I'm simply telling you right now, in this season that you are in, if you can hold fast, don't get caught up. Know he's taking you somewhere. That the turnaround is going to be sweet. The turnaround is going to be something to talk about. See, he knows that you were crying in the process. He said, but in that word, he said, they that go forth weeping, bearing precious seeds, shall doubtless come again with their sheaves with them. That's proof that God made you fruitful in a barren situation. That's proof that God had brought you out of it. And he says, I'm here for your turnaround. Do not get caught up.